Hey, what's up you guys? My name's Ed with U-Haul. If you're going to be towing a trailer with your Jeep Patriot, you're going to need to get trailer wiring installed. It's the law. Today we're going to be installing a Tekonsha 4-flat power module.
You will need the tools seen here to complete this installation.
So let's get right to it. We have 4 major connection points, one behind each tail light, one at the battery, and then your 4-flat being connected to the rear bumper area here. And then we'll run some wires to the battery, of course. So we'll start with getting behind the taillights. All right, here at the driver's side, to remove the taillight, we're going to just take off our fasteners here. We're going to use a flathead screwdriver. These are a 2-piece fastener. The center piece comes out away from the base. But once it reaches a certain point, it'll just pull right out, and then the base fastener comes out just like that. Do the bottom one here. Okay, when we get those 2 fasteners pulled out, it should just pop right out. Okay, and these are the connectors that we're looking at right behind the taillight. We'll go ahead and get behind this one here. We're going to do the same thing at the passenger side, but before I do that, I want to point out that the connector that goes to each side, the yellow wire and the brown wire are going to go to the driver's side, and the green wire is going to go to the passenger side. So let's go ahead and get this yellow wire connector pulled up into the taillight compartment. To do that, I like to use a pull wire technique or fish wire technique. I'm just going to take a piece of wire, I'm going to drop it down behind the bumper, and it's going to come down underneath the vehicle. Okay, just going to reach under here, grab the wire. Now we're going to take our driver's side connector. It has the yellow and brown wire. We're going to tape it to the pull wire. Okay, and now I also want to take our ground wire and tape it to the driver's side taillight connector as well, because I want to make my ground behind the taillight. So we'll go ahead and pull that up with it as well. Okay, now we'll just take our pull wire. We'll start to pull. I'm going to take all this slack and put it on the ground to help me guide it up. And there's our connectors right there. Okay, and there's our ground wire. So we'll go ahead and take our pull wire off and just pull it straight out. Okay. These are our 2 connectors. I'm going to go right in between our top taillight connector here. To remove this, we're going to pull back on the red clip to unclip it. We're going to press the button and then just pull straight back, and it'll come right out. Just like that. Now we'll get our mating connectors, plug it in, here clip, and then lock it in. Here, clip in, and then just push the red button to lock it in. And that's it for the driver's side connectors. Now we'll go ahead and make our ground before we move over to the passenger side. Okay, we'll go ahead and just set the light over. We've got our ground wire pulled up on the driver's side here. We did find a nice cavity right here that we can ground it to. So I'll go ahead and just place it there. Grab our tech screw here that was provided with the packaging. Screw it right in. Okay, we got our ground screw in. Now we can put our taillight back in. We're going to take our 2 body plugs here, line them up, push them in, and then we'll have our fasteners on the inside of the door here. Sometimes the connectors will get caught up behind here. We're going to make sure that they're pushed nice and neat in the back here. Just like that. just going to hit the taillight into the body plugs, put our fasteners back in, put the base in, lock the center in. That's it for our driver's side. Let's go ahead and run our wire over to the passenger side. Now, they've given us enough wire to get over to the passenger side and up to the taillight. As we're routing it, we definitely want to stay away from this exhaust here. The exhaust is almost the length of the back of the bumper here. So we're going to have to find bumper brackets up in this area here all the way over to the passenger side. Again, avoiding that hot exhaust. So this bumper is flexible, so you can pull on it and get it out of your way here. We're going to go up and over the receiver tube. Okay, it looks like we can go straight up here to avoid the tailpipe, and this going straight up will go right up to the taillight. So we'll go ahead and leave this right here, and we'll do our pull wire technique again once we get the taillight removed. Okay, and just like the driver's side, we're going to take our flathead screwdriver, wedge it in between the base and the center portion of the fastener. That pulled out, and the base comes out. Okay, we should be able just to pull the light right out. We'll flip it around. Again, just like on the driver's side, we're going to be using the top connector. We're going to unlock it by pulling down on the red connector here. Press the button here to release it and slide it right out. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and pull up our wire and get it connected here. Okay, we got it taped up. We'll go ahead and pull and come right up behind that taillight. There we go. Okay, so we got the larger connectors are going to go right into the taillight. Clip it in, lock it in. One more connector here. Clip it in, lock it down. Okay, we've got our connectors together. We do have some slack here that I'm going to pull up real tight on, keep it away from the exhaust. Just going to zip tie it up here to the connector harnesses here. Just like that, and I'll cut off that zip tie slack or excess. Okay. Again, we have our two body plugs. We're gonna line right up into the body holes here. Make sure our wiring is tucked in. Got it all lined up. We can just tap on it. It goes right back into place. Put our two base fasteners in. And then our two centerpiece fasteners push in just like that. Okay, we're done behind the taillights. We now have our 4 flat coming down here. To activate our 4 flat, we will need to run a wire to the battery from the power control module, which is up in behind our taillight area. We do have a bit of wire coming out that we'll show to you. So again, we're going to make a connection with a butt connector here. We'll go ahead and expose the copper, strip it out there, and just make a crimp connection. And again, we're going to go up and make another crimp connection. And you can see that the black wire with the copper end lead is that's what's coming off of our converter box, and that's where we're going to be making our butt connection there. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, we've got our connection made using the butt connector. Now we'll go ahead and run the wire up to the battery. Before you go running wire up towards the engine compartment, take a few minutes and choose your path. You want to stay away from moving parts, heat parts like the exhaust. I chose to go down the driver's side because I can see that the brake lines are going right up next to the battery. It'll be a nice place to anchor my wire to once I get it ran. Okay, now that we are up towards the firewall area in the engine compartment, I'm going to go ahead and drop another pull wire down. That way I can tape it here and then just pull it straight up. We'll come right up next to the battery area. Okay, we're under the hood here. We're going to go ahead and take our pull wire, our fish wire technique, push it down next to the master cylinder here. Our brake lines run right up to the master cylinder, so we're just going to follow those lines down to the ground. Again, we're trying to avoid moving parts and exhaust. Got to be a little patient here. There we go. Okay, we're back under the vehicle on the driver's side frame here down the brake lines, and I've pushed the pull wire down, and it just came right out next to our wire that we ran down the brake line. So now we're going to go ahead and just put the two ends together, tape them up, and then we'll go back up to the engine compartment and pull it straight up. Okay, back underneath the hood, we're going to take our pull wire and just pull straight up. And here's our wire that we had underneath the vehicle that we taped up and pulled up. Now we'll just keep pulling until we get all that slack taken out. There we go. Okay, I'm going to lay this aside because now we need to expose the battery where we're going to be making our connection. So for those that don't know, your battery is going to be located directly below the intake duct here. And to remove this, typically there's two little screws here, but it looks like they've kind of just put some fasteners in here. Maybe they lost them or something. So we're just going to pull straight up, pull out, and there's our battery. This is our negative side. This is our positive side. We want to connect to the positive side of the battery. Looks like we're going to be dealing with a 10 millimeter. Okay, that's the post we're going to go ahead and connect to. Attaching to the post, we're going to use a fuse holder and fuse line. You can see it's one continuous wire. We're going to go ahead and cut it here. This is our eyelet that's going to go to the power post, our positive post. I'm going to go ahead and strip the wire back to connect it. Push it in until we see copper touching the metal there. Go ahead and make our crimp connection. Okay, and without a fuse in, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and make the connection. Just put it right over the post. Put the nut back on. Okay, we'll tighten it back up. Okay, so I'll gauge my distance here. I'll make our cut. Okay, and we'll lose this excess wire. Okay, now I'll go ahead and route it. There we go, that's enough to get our connections made. Okay, so now here's our inline fuse. We've got the other end. We're just gonna connect the line that we ran to the inline fuse and fuse holder. Okay, we're gonna strip the wire back Use a butt connector to connect the two ends. I'll be using the crimp method. Okay, all of our connections have now been made. The last thing to do to activate our 4 flat is going to be to put the 15 amp inline fuse into the inline fuse holder. If there happens to be any shorts, it'll stop sending power back to the unit. Put our cover back on. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and clean this up with some zip ties. We'll go ahead and put our intake duct back in. Just like that. Now we'll go ahead and start zip tying up the brake line to the firewall and then down underneath the vehicle. Okay, our 4 flat is active. A lot of people will try to zip tie or loop this around to mount their 4 flat. That's very unattractive, so it's a good idea to spend a couple of dollars on a 4 flat bracket. They're really easy to mount. What we're going to do is just go ahead and mount it right in this area here. Put our 4 flat right through it. So I'm going to go ahead and square it off. I'll mark my holes with a marker. Okay, and I'll go ahead and drill the 2 holes. You can see it takes little effort for the drill bit to go through the plastic fascia. I'll take the provided hardware here. Take one, put it through there. The other, put it through there. Got it backwards here. Push them through. Now we'll take our nuts here and just reach up behind it and bolt them down. Okay, we're going to take our Phillips screwdriver. Go ahead and just snug them up here. Perfect. Okay, next step, we're going to take our 4 flat excess wiring. We're going to route it behind the bumper fascia through the bumper brackets, just like we did on the right side connector. Again, we're trying to avoid the hot exhaust here. It will melt that wire. Okay, we're coming out of the other side of the bracket that's behind here. We'll go ahead and put our 4 flat through the bracket, 4 flat bracket, right through the slots. It'll lock in there. Just wiggle it back and forth. There we go. Now we can take our dust cover and close it up. Last step is going to be to clean up the excess wiring. I'm just going to fold it up. I'm going to zip tie it up underneath to some brackets and or a harness underneath here. All right, that's our video. Thank you for watching. Have fun and be safe.
To learn more about the products seen in this video, or to schedule an installation by U-Haul Hitch Professional, visit us online today at uhaulhitches.com.